Houston, Texas, the largest city and the second largest state in America. The street lamps illuminate as the light of the sun dips below the horizon. People return home from work for the evening, blissfully unaware of the forces that permeate the city just beneath the surface. A woman, Michaela Tavish, rearranges the books in her library, making sure everything is back where it needs to be so that she can close the library for the evening. Soon, Michaela feels the energy threshold to her library break for a moment, as she knows someone has entered. I'm afraid we're closing. Please come back tomorrow, Michaela calls out to whoever or whatever had just made its entry into her library. However, whoever her visitor was failed to comply, so she went to investigate, keeping a tight grip on her satchel, which contained her magical reagents. Turning the corner around one of her bookshelves, she found a woman standing there in a green dress. "You're the wizard I was told to come see?" she asks nervously. Michaela looked at her skeptically. How did this woman know she was a wizard? Who told her to seek her out? "What do you need? Make it quick, please," Michaela tells the woman. I need your help," the woman says, before holding out her hand to an empty desk. With a -3, whatever the woman attempted to do seemed to backfire. Michaela could sense magical energy bubbling from inside the woman, but as she tried to direct it, it lashed out, and a blast of energy thrust her a couple of feet into the air as she was flung back onto the floor. Michaela ran over to help the young woman up and asked her, "Are you okay, miss?" taking her hand, pulling her to her feet. I don't know. I was hoping you could figure out what's going on with me." Michaela beckoned for this woman to follow her. Michaela finished closing the library for the evening, and then led the girl, Melissa, into a back room, and then down a metal ladder to a peculiar study. Shelves full of tomes lined the walls. A fine rug sprawled over the floor. Desks lined with various alchemical supplies and occult paraphernalia. The room lit by sparsely placed candles. Michaela sat in a large, plush chair and invited Melissa to sit in the chair opposite to her. Michaela took out a pen and a notebook and asked her, "How much do you know about these peculiarities already?" With a more chunk of 4, Melissa answers, I just know lately I've been getting psychic powers for some reason. It started with the visions, the seizures, and getting other people's thoughts, but it just spiraled out of control ever since." Michaela wrote down what Melissa said as she explained. "I see. And do you have any ideas when these abilities first manifested?" Melissa thought back to the earliest she could remember when her powers first manifested. "I was 10, watching TV when the TV exploded and the house caught fire. My parents were alive, but in just a night, I went from having siblings to being an only child. My condolences," Michaela said, continuing to simply write down Melissa's story for her. "What abilities have manifested thus far?" Michaela asked. "Well, you saw when I blasted myself back. Outside of that, when I get seizures, I see things, and they happen, but no one believes me. I can make people not hear things for a while, and I can learn about things. Objects, I mean." "I see. Anything else?" "I can make people do things," Melissa answered with a stutter, earning a dark look from Michaela. "What did you just say?" Michaela asked Melissa, glaring at her. "Sometimes I can make people do what I want, not what I want. I can't decide when I do or not." Michaela nods, then leaned towards her. "I want to make one thing crystal clear, ma'am. The latter is something that you need to be very careful with. In magical society, we have laws about what you can and can't do. One of the most important ones Thou shalt not enthrall another. In other words, do not fuck with people's brains. I'm serious. We kill people over that. Melissa curls up in her chair and nods nervously. Yes, ma'am. Now sit there and don't touch anything. I'll be right back with you in a minute, Michaela says before getting up, putting on a robe, and snapping her fingers as an alchemy set of lights, and she sets about her work. Mixing a concoction of NyQuil, molasses, lavender in order to numb her mind more, in order to weaken her psychic powers, at least as a temporary solution. And with a thaumaturgy craft check of 6, before finally pouring the finished elixir into a bottle, before trying to use her magic to cool it off. The cooling effects Michaela meant to conjure turned into a winter cold. At least it was something toward cooling the mind-thinning potion. Deciding this was good enough, Michaela took the bottle to Melissa. Drink this. It'll slow your brain down a bit, and it should help with your psychic abilities. Fair warning though, it tastes like ass. Melissa tries to down the whole thing, but the viscosity of the mind-thinning potion slows the liquid a bit. She retches and gulps as she tries her best to swallow the potion as Michaela holds the bottle in place. While this happens, the Woodford twins' limo pulls up outside Michaela's library. Turning to her brother, who is in a blazer and a button-up, which opens at the top, his dark hair styled into a fade, Sasha tells him, I believe this is where we were supposed to go, Asher, Sasha says, looking at her brother. It appears so, sister dearest, Asher says with a smirk, his fangs glinting in the outside lights on the streets. Wait for us out here, Sasha says to the limo driver before kissing her. The narcotic envenomation of the vampire saliva overwhelmed the driver's senses with the deep and profound euphoria as she simply lay there in her seat. The two vampires exit the limo and walk up to the library, feeling as though they had just passed a forbidden threshold in doing so. It takes a couple seconds, and the twins begin looking through the books in the library before Michaela shows up. I suppose you two need some? Michaela says to the vampires. I'd offer a drink, but given your circumstances, that might end up being me. No need to worry about your pretty little head, Miss Tavish. Just your court business, Asher says to Michaela with a smirk. Sasha nods and says to her, our sour wishes have a prize beast from the Never Never. We decide the aid of a wizard would be ideal for our mission. Giving Sasha and Asher a skeptical look, Michaela asks them, and what's in this for me? She asks, wanting to ensure that this will not be free labor. Sasha laughed, and said, a little birdie told us you had a colleague that was kidnapped by the Autumn King Oberon. I believe your friend was a cartographer? Afro Hemingway. Want to map a bit more of the obscure areas of the Never Never, but she never came back, and the White Council has yet to be able to retrieve her. How these vampires knew about her was anyone's guess, but right now, they were her best shot at getting Afro back. End of session 1.